What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P, Marky D here with a special episode of TDU Boys. We're back to where it all began. Marky D, who runs Steeler Nation Australia, and I used to do shows, for those that don't know, out there on Behind the Steel Curtain, now Steel Curtain Network. Then we came in to do this venture. Marky D's killing it with Steeler Nation Australia, and it's just awesome to be able to do another show as we like to do them together. Lots of loyal listeners. Marky D, it's been a crazy free agency. It's been a crazy draft period. We're still going through that. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. I don't know about you. The last 24 hours has been a rain fest, though. Did you notice?
Mate, it's been destroying my place, man. Absolutely destroying my place. A whole month's rain in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, we had one of the hottest summers in like 6 months, and then we got bang, rain. But I can't remember the last time that we've talked about any Steelers.
I just looked it up the other day. We did one about 3 weeks.
Was it Kenny Pickett still on the team by then or not?
Kenny Pickett was still on the team, I think.
Really? Time changed.
Yeah. And we're going to talk depth chart today, so it's going to be pretty interesting to assess all those changes. So, I think we caught up on the 24th of Feb. There you go. So over a month, 5 weeks ago.
Wow. So Kenny Pickett was still there. We still had love it. You know, I can't say that word on my program. And when you get to 1,002, you can't say it. I get demonetized every time. I figured it out. I say Christian 46 now. I can't say nope. Even if I abbreviate it or if I say it my way or his way, I can't say it. I figured it out. Every time I said it, I was getting red money symbol.
Demonetized.
Yeah, you can't play ads because apparently I'm a bad person on the internet for saying that word. But he signed a contract too. He signed a 3-year contract, and we need Christian 46 to snap those long balls. You know what I'm saying,
man? He's a key. He's an unheralded signing. This season.
He's a good signing. Think about it. And also signing the punter. He's a good signing.
Cameron Johnson out of Geelong.
Yeah. He played. Didn't he play for an AFL team down there?
Yeah, Geelong. Yeah, played for Geelong.
He played for the Cats.
Yeah, and they had a good team then. They won the.
How much do you reckon he's sick of Bill Burr talk though? He must be over it. I'm over
Unless he leans into it though. He could be leaning into it.
Oh, you want to if he plays with it and starts doing jokes like Bill Burr.
Well, maybe it can be funnier than grilling and chilling.
There'd be different. Oh, that's true. Man, I like grilling and chilling. There's cut gentry. It's like nuts. See ya. They always do that though. Like
they even became a bungle.
Same with. Is he still a Bengal now?
I think so.
What about the other one they had? Was it Bud Dupree show as well? And then he was gone like the next year.
Oh yeah, with what was it? But not have a Bud with Bud. What was that one?
Be a Bud with Bud. Was it Be a Bud?
Maybe Be a Bud. Yeah.
Anytime you have a show, I feel like the next year or so they cut you or something happens. Antonio Brown had his show. Juju had his show right with the Steelers. I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's kind of odd.
I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. But what's your favorite signing of the offseason so far?
Oh, hands down, Queen. I think Queen so far.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't really seen too many highlights because I just can't watch his film because I don't know how good of a player he is. He's a Raven, right? I can't watch the Ravens tackle us. I don't know. But of course I've seen him play. I've seen his Twitter. I've seen his interview, that kind of stuff. I think he is what the Steelers need at middle linebacker position. Next to him is Atlanta Roberts, and also Cole Holcomb is still out with a big injury, so we don't know if he's coming back. So it all makes sense. They fill that spot there with Queen. They have Roberts, and he's fantastic too. I think he's been playing Steelers football, like just hitting people hard. So those two pairings, and hopefully if Holcomb comes back to 99% or 100%, he can be the third guy or that rotation of 3 guys. But that's it.
Bud brought a Bud. That's it. Yeah, I want to get your take on this. I want to see Jedel brings it up. I want to get your take on this before we get into what we want to talk about for today's show. I think I'm not buying into this 84 AB thing. I know I'm out on AB, but no, mate, you didn't even play 10 years with the Steelers. You're not a Hall of Famer yet. No, other people can wear that number.
I think he's actually taking the piss. I think he's gone from being crazy. Yeah, I think he's gone from being crazy to now he's told everyone he's crazy. Now he's taking the piss and making money out of it and trolling everyone. I believe everything he says it's very wild, but I don't think it's really him. I think it's him playing a character. I think he's taking the piss because
that's interesting perspective.
If you follow his tweets, they're so random and wild, and some are really racist, some are really bad, some are really off takes, or he talked about, was it Rice, Rasheed? He's like, where's Wally? Because he ran away, that kind of stuff, right? And they're a little bit funny, to be honest. Like someone he said to the in Twitter, 2024, bring back comedy. So he doesn't care anymore, but I feel like he's playing a bit of a troll where he knows what he's doing and pissing off the people to get the likes and the attractions for us to talk about him, right? He tweeted before just today about him wearing number 7 and said, Big Ben said I can wear 7 and I'm allowed to go to the Steelers. There is no way the Steelers will pick this guy up to be. I reckon he'll never be involved in the franchise ever again. And I would be annoyed if he was involved, because he's aloof. He's a character. He's now put himself, like, Mike Madden, he's meant to be I hate everything. Now AB is the character who's wild and crazy. Not a fan of him.
No, I can't. I mean, I watched his interview with Patrick Bet-David, a businessman and big YouTuber, a couple of million subs. Man, the way AB just starts attacking him. He's trying to affiliate with him, and then AB was going on about how tough life was in the hood. And this guy, Patrick Bet-David, grew up in freaking Iran, right? And he's like, mate, I take it you had a tough childhood, but don't lecture me about a tough childhood, man. I'm from Iran.
I'm saying, I think he's playing a character. I think he's playing into that CT ESPN thing. I think he's overall just trying to, pull a hood over our eyes and say, well, here you are. I'm AB. I think he's doing it on purpose to build his brand, and his brand is like shock and awe factor. He's going after everyone. Damar Hamlin, he goes after Shannon Sharp, he goes after. He calls, the cracker of the day, Adam Schefter. He's calling out Caitlin Clark, who looks like comparing them to a man. So I think overall, it's got to the point where it's AB. He's allowed to get away with it. But if I were to say it you know what I mean? I'm done. Like, my career is over. So I'm not saying I would say anything like that, but I'm saying it's AB. We just go, it's AB. Oh, it's AB. That's a scary part. It's AB.
There's a legendary listener there in Daredevil in the live chat,
Mr.
and
Leaf.
Ryan Leaf. I love Mr. Leaf. Mr. Leaf's a good bloke. Well, I want to get in the depth chart. Remember, Marky D, last year we had the crazy. Remember, we had the depth chart that we would update all year, all off season, right?
Change every week. Every week was different.
100%. It got too hard. So we had to lean away from it for a bit. Well, I've gone and updated the depth chart for this season as the roster stands with the 53. But what I wanted to show you was the August depth chart, right? I'm just going to give a couple of quick highlights from the August depth chart. August depth chart: Kenny Pickett, Trubisky, Rudolph, obviously a quarterback.
Wow.
Right? Your guards were, remember, this is right before the season started, during the bye week, before everything went nuts. Dan Moore Jr. left tackle, Siamalu, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Chooks, Okorafor.
Okorafor too, yeah.
Boykin, Oshesky, Robinson in the wide receivers. There's changes there, and Deontay Johnson.
Go on.
DT, Armand Watts, Loudermilk, Liao, Ogunjobi, Hayward, Fahoko, Benton. A few changes there. Not everything's changed. Linebackers, obviously,
Watts is gone. Fioco's back.
Loudermilk's
right.
Tentative. Then you've got Holcomb, Roberts, Quan, Mike Robinson. Then you've got, obviously, Highsmith, Golden, Riley and Sullivan in the slot. Peterson, Wallace, Porter Jr. and Pierre. And then Neal, obviously, at safety was there. Obviously, that was back when they had Braden Mann on the roster, when we thought that Presley Harvin wasn't even going to make it. And they obviously cut him at the end of the year. But now we go to April 4th, and when I updated this, and we're in a totally different realm. And there's still some holes on the roster, but there's also some really positive things. So we go from Trubisky, Rudolph, and Pickett to Wilson, Fields, and Allen, right? We go Najee and Warren, and I right now have Cordell Patterson at wide receiver, because I think he'll play a wide receiver running back, and the Steelers don't have wide receiver, but I can go and put Cordell Patterson in there at running back as well as the third running back. But so I guess we'll start there. What are your opinions on quarterback and running back right now? Like, how are you feeling about those two positions? Yeah, Marky D dropped out. Well, I'll tell you how I'm feeling about those two positions as Marky D dropped out. I'm kind of feeling definitely quarterback. The Steelers got well upgraded there. We've got a proven veteran. We've got a savvy, in many ways, prospect still. So that's kind of interesting. Jed Devil wants to bring up Sam Hartman. I hope so, man. I've been on the Sam Hartman train. I've talked about him. I talked about him because I assumed he was going to come out in draft last year. I talked about him. I did a podcast on him back when we were still the Steel Curtain Network in September 2022, after he was started slaying it that season with Wake Forest, and he was slaying it particularly with a wide receiver that the Steelers had in the practice squad last year at times, Jakari Roberson. But yeah, I'd love to pick up Sam Hartman. I think he can be an absolute steal. And I think he's a better prospect coming out than Purdy was. I know that sounds crazy to say with Purdy's career, but if you actually look at the numbers with Sam Hartman and Brock Purdy, it's not crazy different, super experienced, and we've seen how that translates to the NFL. Then you go to running back. Yeah. Braden Mann I was on Braden Mann. I remember Mark and I had this discussion, and I think we did it on a live. People were like, no, you got to keep Presley Harvin. I'm like, nah, I'm a Braden Mann guy. But I like that Cameron Johnston is going to be really, really, really good, better than Braden Mann. But when you look at the running back position, Najee, Warren, Patterson, don't be surprised. I don't think we could be surprised to see the Steelers draft someone late in there. But I think this is a UDFA thing. Can they find another Warren? Imagine if they could find a Warren. But with Najee there, with Warren there, where there's a Warren, there's a way. I know I kept saying that. I said that all last year when he led the team to wins. It is going to be pretty interesting to see how that running back room goes. We know there's two proven guys, but how are they going to go in the NFL this season with an Arthur Smith offense? We then get to fullback and tight end. Now, this is the really interesting part of the last 24 hours. So for those fans out there as well, we put out a video on that. I got a video out on Nicole Pruitt, who has joined the Steelers, who has followed Arthur Smith through Tennessee and into Atlanta. He's a guy with 71 career receptions, 740-ish yards, and he's got like 12 TDs as well. So he's a bit of a red zone threat, he's a blocking threat. He comes into the mix. So there's now 4 tight ends on the roster in Freeman, Washington, Nicole Pruitt, and Connor Haywood. But Connor Haywood's kind of the fullback there as well. So really, it's kind of like there's 3 guys and a fullback. So it will be interesting to see how that sort of goes, as we get through preseason. But I think they'll add. I think Rodney Williams is still on a futures contract because of his practice squad last year as well. This roster is not everyone there. This roster is a starters and possible 53-man roster that you've got in front of you, depth chart and split up by the depth chart. So that is kind of interesting with the tight end position. I do think Connor Haywood could be a real risk than what people realize, but hopefully he can make it work. And then Marky D will give me the thumbs up. He's in the green room. So he'll give me the thumbs up when he's good to go. And he's going to come in with a bluster. Here we go. Marky D. No audio for you, mate.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You sound like a helicopter pilot. I love it.
Okay, so I won't stay too long because I've just realized. My power just went out because I honestly cannot film anywhere at the moment in this house. Like there's trucks, there's garbage bin deliveries, there's bloody, I don't know, is that even a thing? There's people chopping down trees, all this kind of stuff. So for some reason, the council's like, you know what, we'll turn the power off right now. So power's off. So I cannot use the laptop.
Maybe because of the storms. Maybe because of the storms and the destruction that's going on.
Yeah. So what I might do is, I don't know what part you're up to, but I might join the live chat because otherwise I've got to hold my phone. I want to
just quickly your opinion on quarterback, running back, tight end. How do you feel about those 3 positions?
I think it's different, to be honest. I think overall quarterback is something I did not think to expect we'd ever see. Russell Wilson and Fields. But I hope the Steelers do it the right way in the fact that if it's Russell Wilson's job, you make him number 1, and then once he starts to play poorly, or if he gets injured, he goes back to being number 1. You play it the right way. There is zero controversy. Like they know their roles. And I hope they do it that way. So I think you go with the veteran quarterback Wilson. I know he had some trouble there in Denver, but he's got over 45,000 yards plus something like that, a Super Bowl. Veteran guy, aging guy, sure, but I think he needs to be number one, and he's going to make it his team, and then build from that. And also, he's not the only guy in the building too. We're building around the offense with Pickens, tight ends, offensive line, running back. So yeah, quarterback to me it's good, but then what's the future? I don't know. I don't overall know the future with Fields. He needs to accept his role, and then probably he'll be the next guy going forward into maybe next season. He could be number one. Running back, I think we're fine. Najee's losing weight. He looks awesome. Warren's good. We know how he can play. I don't know. I thought they would have went and got a running back third, like a mock in a draft. Maybe get a third running back, but can't Cordell Patterson play running back now too? You know what I mean? You probably don't need another running back. So they didn't use another guy before too. And the receiver sense, I think we're good. We're just missing that receiver number 2. But I think we spoke about offline before, and they are signing a lot of older players like the Jefferson, the Watkins or whatnot. Patterson's up there in the 10 years, and they signed the Pruitt. So I just want the receivers to not, like, I was a bit worried today when I saw Pickens cry about not having number 1 again. Do you know what I mean? Did you see that yet?
Yeah.
So overall, I think we'll be good, but yeah, man, I might have to go because this is hard to hold my phone.
That's right. I'll see you in the live chat. Chat.
What are the odds? What do the odds say? Dead set, the power's out. That's why it turned off. So I'll try and get back on.
Storms. I saw some stuff up your area. I saw some. I might have trees down.
Oh, really? Yeah, true. All right, I'll jump in the live chat and I'll try and be active in there. It's just going to be too hard me hold my phone for half an hour and whatnot.
Good.
All right, guys. Do I really sound like I'm in a helicopter? Is that bad?
No. You're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
All right, over and out. I'll see you. And I'll get out of here. See you later.
Marky D there with his little cameo. But yeah, drop bear got in the wires, Jedevil. Yeah, I didn't expect it either, Jedevil. But well, I did because I've been talking about drafting one. I still would love to see them draft Derek Johnson, but it is what it is. There should be an incentive for Pickens to get number 1. There should. He needs to work hard at that. That can't just be given. So I completely agree with that feedback. But getting back to this depth, that's where we are. We're actually sitting at wide receiver, so Mark did well to get us there. Calvin Austin's a big question. I think when we look at it, Calvin Austin's a massive question on this roster right now. Not from the fact that I think he can certainly play in the NFL. I think he's a great deep threat. I think he's a punt returning threat still as well, even with the rule change. But my thing is can we use him? And that's what's going to be interesting because in the Canada offense, there were so many sweeps and, pre-snap motion and all of this. But in the Arthur Smith offense, g'day Marky D, in the Arthur Smith offense, if they can actually block better, which is a major part of the Arthur Smith offense, maybe Austin and the sweep game becomes a real thing that really helps there as well. So that could be kind of interesting for the Steelers as well in terms of Calvin Austin. Moving over to the offensive line, and this is where huge gaps exist. I mean, every mock draft right now, center, right tackle. I mean, we've talked about this to death, and we want to get to the defense of things. But actually, I'll just pull up Jedevil's comment though. Yeah, we definitely have the fastest receiving core. But there needs to be a number 2 or someone that's fighting to be the number 2. I still think the Steelers can make a move. I still think the Steelers could trade as well. If there's a wide receiver that I think people shouldn't be put past this. Remember when A.J. Brown got traded from Tennessee to the Eagles? Eagles were talked about in drafting a guy, and then a few guys went off the board before the Eagles were picking. I think they're picking at like in the 20s or 19 or something like that. And Olave had gone, and a couple of blokes had gone. Anyway, they went up and they made that move to trade. That was also when Hollywood Brown got traded from Ravens to the Cardinals. So that could also happen in this draft. There could be a wide receiver that falls. A team didn't think that would fall to them. They've got a high grade him. They pick him. Then suddenly one of their better wide receivers becomes available. Good as gold. They go and get them. Now, my ideal world, that'd be like a Keenan Allen with the Bears, but I don't think it's going to happen. Jedel says we're still waiting on you. Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot of people talk about maybe Gallup I think it's Mike Gallup out of the Cowboys could be a possible option in the wide receiver room there. I still keep thinking DJ Chalk's the guy. I think he's much better than Quez Watkins. I think Quez Watkins is a camp body. But yeah, let's move quickly to O-line because I want to get into the defense. But O-line, obviously there with the O-line, there's some massive holes right now when we talk about center and right tackle particularly. I also still think that, I was really high on Spencer Anderson last year. That hasn't changed. However, I do think with Spencer Anderson, we don't know what we've got in a guy like that. And so I actually think there's a lot of holes right now. If you look at the guys that we've got there, we're talking about the 7 or 8 guys right now. I thought it Spencer Anderson and Herbie twice. So yeah, there's actually 6 guys on that list right now that really your possible 53 would make the 53 as it stands today. They're at least 2 guys, well, definitely one, kind of 2 guys away from really having a good starting offensive line and having the backups. I'm hoping we trade up to Fuaga too, Daredevil. That means that in two drafts in a row, we would get my top tackle prospect. Fuaga is going to be huge if you can get him, not just in size and stature and the physicality he brings, but he'll also be really huge in terms of the fact he can go play guard. If you had to, you can let him go play guard. I think Dan Moore, they should be looking at guard. He played a lot of guard in college. It's interesting that they haven't moved him there in the NFL. But I'm also really, really liking the idea of getting Graham Barton out of Duke. I did a show on this the other night. A lot of the subs would have already watched that and listened to that. If you haven't, I'll link it in here as well. But honestly, like Graham Barton played left tackle in college. He played center. He played half the snaps that JPJ2. I'm calling him JPJ2 because JPJ1 is Joey Porter Jr. But Jackson Powers Johnson has literally only played just like 53% more snaps than Graham Barton at center. Graham Barton was a tackle in college, but projected to play guard in the NFL with just his style of play. To me, outside of Fuaga, and the only position Fuaga can't play is center, Fatanu is someone that they're saying is mocked at center. So let's call Fatana mocked as being able to play center. So let's call Fatanu a 5-position slot guy. Like he can play in all 5 positions on the O-line as well. Barton's the only other guy who can do it, and Barton can do it better than Fatanu. But Fatanu has a high grade right now. Honestly, I think the best tackle prospect is Fuaga, but the best O-line prospect is either Fuaga still again, but remember he can only play 4 of the 5 positions, or it's Barton. So if the Steelers went Barton in round 1 and then went and got, Patrick Paul out of Houston, or then Zach Frazier fell to them, or what have you. If you really want to do best player available and you want to let the draft fall to you, you kind of got to pick Barton, which is interesting position where it's been. But there's a lot of draft hype going into him. I had him closed off purely from the perspective of I didn't want to convert a guard to center. But then when I looked at the quality of play that he had at left tackle as well, I was like, you know what? I do think he's the best round prospect. And the other thing about Barton too, when he played center, 0 sacks. I think it was 0 or 1 quarterback hit. Really, really good. JPJ had 9 penalties last year as well. It's a huge amount of penalties. When you actually look at draft eligible O linemen that have center snaps last year, that's actually huge because he was the equal 3rd for the most. But if you went and got a guy like Barton, then you can go your defensive tackle, cornerback, wide receiver in round 2, and then you can pick a guy later on in the draft like a Matt Lee. So that's kind of interesting as well. What's up, Toddy? What's up, mate? So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But if we move on to defense as well, and defense in depth as well with the title, honestly, defense in depth includes offense. But when we look at it right now, DT. Now Lowry is probably a bit more of a defensive end. I should probably update this as we go. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to move that guy over there. But defensive tackle, I kind of feel this is still a bit of a weak spot. But this is a spot that a lot of teams fill during a draft with a late pick. We know the Steelers are probably going to use quite a high pick on it. It's a spot where guys get cut after the draft a lot of the time. If you go back and look at it, again, they can fill that there. It's a position that tends to move around a lot in preseason. Once teams know what they've got, know how the draft pick's looking, they then look to save. DT is one of those spots where people look to save cap as well. You know, if let's say Arlen Watts doesn't turn out for the Patriots, they're spending a bit of money on him. Oh, I've missed Adams. I should have Montravius Adams there. That is my bad. Montravius Adams needs to go in there. That is a miss from me. I realized that as I was talking about because I was reminded of the Arlen Watts deal. But again, I don't love it. Like Montravius Adams is a better 4-3 defensive tackle. He can play defensive end in the 3-4. He can play defensive tackle in the 3-4 as well. But I think we need a bona fide number 2, take the pressure off Hayward. Ogunjobi, it's very expensive. You can't really cut him and then find someone that's going to give you additional production. Liao, I think Liao, this is make or break for him. And I think if of all these blokes, even more than Loudermilk, I feel like Liao could be he's on the outside looking in right now, is what I'll say. I really like Lowry. We did a video. We had a chat with this for Shannon White, Steelers Global Perspective last week. There'll actually be no Steelers Global Perspective this week. I'll have some other content out. Shannon's enjoying his wedding anniversary and taking a trip away. So happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. White. But anyway, Shannon and I were talking about Dean Lowry, and I think he is a minimum Wormley standard, if not better than Chris Wormley. And that could be a very sneaky and shrewd pickup for the Steelers. J-Devil says, Khan being unpredictable is the best part about the draft, could be Wiggins. I don't want Wiggins. I like Wiggins' speed. I think he can cover. I worry about his NFL size. I don't have a first round grade on Wiggins because of his size. I don't think his size in the 170 pounds is gonna work. It's just I don't know. Something about it. I can't, especially in the AFC North. But J-Devil says, but it's a fair point. I mean, a lot of people have him first round grade on him. J-Devil says Fisk dropping the 3rd round would be absolutely. I mean, and everyone, J-Devil, you're one of our first ever subs on this channel. I've been talking about Fisk since January. So everyone knows that follows the channel that I absolutely am so high on Fisk. I think the 2nd round could be a little bit higher for him. So if he did fall to the back end of the 3rd, it could be huge. But I could see someone taking him at the back end of the 1st as well, because he's got such potential. So yeah, I mean, gosh, if we went Barton, Van Pran, Fisk, I would enjoy that. I don't know, JJ, referring to me or referring to Matt Lee, but Matt Lee is pretty cool. You let me know. Jedel says, I'm not too keen on corner in the 1st. Maybe Mitchell, Quinion Mitchell or Deshaun. Yeah, Cuba Deshaun as well. Like, I have him very similar to Joey Porter Jr., but last year I had a early second on Joey Porter Jr., late 1st round grade. I didn't have a top 20 round grade, so I was thrilled when the Steelers didn't pick him there. Not because I didn't want Joey Porter Jr., but I thought a tackle was more needy, and I didn't have it in there, but he played well enough to definitely justify being a top 20 pick. But you don't know that until he gets to the NFL. Cooper DeJean, I think where the Steelers right now, he'd be huge. He'd be an awesome acquisition. But I feel like Quinion Mitchell would give us the guy that we can mark up when we play a Tyreek Hill or a Stephon Diggs or a Chris Olave or a, Justin Jefferson. That's what I like about Mitchell. But there's some other great corners that can do some of that stuff, like a Max Melton out of Rutgers. I've been really high on him since January. I'm really high on Josh Newton out of TCU as well. I think he's a really, really good player. I think it's DJ Moore out of Auburn's not too bad. I think that's what the college he played out of. There's a few guys. Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon could be really good in like the 4th. Bit more of a rangy sort of corner. So they're kind of some interesting guys right now. And I know we've jumped ahead of defensive tackle, defensive end as we're looking at cornerback. But when we look at this right now, I mean, I was really high on Jackson. I wanted the Steelers to bring in Jackson 2 years ago. And I think he's going to be huge, but he is getting older. The Steelers are making sure that with the restructure of his contract, that they're not locked in there. They need to get better, because when you've got Corey Trash Jr., who we have not even seen in the NFL. I mean, who knows what that's going to be? I think he could be excellent, but I think he's like an android now. He's got 2 fake knees. But we'll see what the Android man can do. But Darius Rush as well could be a player for them that really surprises some people as well. But we don't know what he looks like, and he wasn't used last year. And the Steelers had some interesting, and at times quite crappy, to be honest, cornerback play toward the end of the season. So is it that they really wanted to make sure that Levi Wallace wasn't worth bringing back? Is it that they Darius Rush wasn't ready for the scheme and the system that the Steelers employ? That some of those things come into play a little bit there as well. So you kind of wonder what is the potential for Darius Rush to have an impact with the Steelers this season. So it's kind of an interesting situation. JJ52 says, I think they need another big wide receiver. They have speed. He goes, yeah, and that's why I really like the idea of DJ Chalk, and I'm shocked that no one signed him. Dijon Mustard, DeJones. I love it. That if he gets drafted, that'll have to be his nickname, is Mustard. We'll have to call him. You can call him Colonel Mustard. This is good fun. But I don't like what they're doing necessarily in the slot right now. Now, it is interesting because Deshaun Elliott can play in the slot, and there's an extra T at the end of his name. You can tell I updated this late at night with a couple of little errors there. But Deshaun Elliott can play in the slot, but I want them to look at a guy that can play in the slot corner as well. I think Carl Z could be a real option for the Steelers in the slot. I think that's what you'll see particularly a lot of as well. I think that's going to be a really key element for how the Steelers shock and surprise when they have like what the team might assume is a 3 safety scheme or set, and then actually no, it's Kazi moving into the slot. You could also, I've been talking about bringing Patrick Peterson back there. I think the way that bigger bodied wide receivers like Samuel, Deebo Samuel, like Brandon Ayuk, some of these sorts of like wide receivers that are bigger and blocking, when those guys hit the slot or the tight ends hit the slot, I don't love the idea of like just Kazi on them. I do think we need a bigger sort of tackling sort of guy. That's why I do like a guy like a Josh Newton. I do think Max Melton's not afraid to put a hit on, so he's there. But that is where, when we talk about Cooper DeJean, he's real value because he can play a deep safety. You could put him in certain strong safety sets, but he doesn't really have the full body type there from just a weight and thickness perspective. But on the slot side of things, he could be a terrific for them and still be able to play outside. So I think it can be really interesting. But also, Jackson is a pretty decent tackler. I know he doesn't necessarily have the best tackle stats, but I've seen him on tape, and he, more often than not, he makes a really good tackle. So maybe he could be there in the slot as well. Jedel says Kazi. If I don't pick anyone, we're going to have to pick a corner. They're going to have to pick a corner at some spot. If they don't pick a corner, then then they're trading for a corner. They've got a problem right there. So we'll just have to see how that rolls. Marky D says his power out is till 10:30. Oh, classic. Right when we want to do our first live in 5 weeks. What's the deal with Marcus Golden? That's a great question from JJ52. Because right now Steelers got 3 outside linebackers on the roster. Part of me would love to just watch the Steelers go get Austin Booker out of Kansas State. But he'll get drafted by someone pretty high because of his crazy stats, even though he's not played a lot of games. Steelers could still be bringing him back. It could be a wait and watch till after the draft. Even then, it could be we still want to bring him back. So let's sort of see. Now I have left a player out at inside linebacker in Marcus Robinson. I'm not the biggest fan of him at this point in time. I don't think he's really developing. It was a flyer for the Steelers. I don't hate it. I'm not saying he can never be anything, but in an ideal world, he's your best guy on the practice squad, or not even. So that's kind of what it is, because I think we need 4 caliber starting blokes. There is a lot of talk about Dupree as well. He's had a lot of injuries though. Dupree back, how much of an upgrade that's going to be on Golden last year, I don't know. But if it's vet minimum, you may as well do it, because a vet minimum is a vet minimum. That's what you got to pay a guy regardless. It's the NFL CBA. Sounds like something. So kind of interesting with that outside linebacker position. It's not like it's the need with Herbig, but you do need a role with 4. And this is where like they could put a UDFA in there as well. I wouldn't be on. What I was going to say was I wouldn't be surprised to see them get someone late in the draft that they feel that they could develop. Quincy Roche kind of type, a guy that falls back. That could be really interesting for them as well. Free safety, I think we're pretty good because I think Jackson's got the body type to play there. Trice, I think, could play there. I think Deshaun Elliott can play both safety positions. So I kind of like the idea of them getting a strong safety linebacker sort of. I think they should be drafting a linebacker anyway to be the 3rd or 4th guy, and potentially even start the season as the 2nd guy, depending on how E-Rob, and sharing that 2nd spot with E-Rob because Holcomb won't be ready. But this is why a guy like James Williams out of Miami could be a really interesting player for the team because James Williams is a guy that's played safety, 6'5", 226 to 230 pounds. I think you can drop back in weight a little bit if he was guaranteed safety. I think he's put on weight to play linebacker in the NFL or to test at linebacker in the combine and in the Senior Bowl. That James Williams could be a really perfect player for the Steelers in the 3rd or 4th round because you can play him at linebacker and coverage role and you can play him at safety, which then means that you can move Minka around even more and Deshaun Elliott can play into the free safety mode or you can play Carl Z. And I think if you had a 3 safety set with Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Elliott, and James Williams, oh my God, that would be awesome. I think that's just going to destroy, especially 2 tight end sets. Or more physical teams, like if you were to come up, so they made all the way to Super Bowl and they played the 49ers, to come up against them, and when you've got Kittle and Ayuk and Debo Samuel, assuming they don't all move, or when you're playing the Bills and you've got in the AFC, championship game or any other AFC, in the playoffs, and you're coming up against Kincaid and Dawson Knox. 3 safeties there becomes really, really important. And I have said for probably the past 12 months and more, the problem that I think sits in this defense is that when the Steelers play these strong tight ends or teams with 2 decent tight ends, it's the same way they had struggles against the Bengals and the Browns at times over the last 4 or 5 years. And at times the Ravens as well, particularly when we look at the Ravens with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. The Steelers have to have 3 safeties that can mark up against these blokes. And we haven't had that, and I think it's cost us at times. But particularly when you look at the AFC North, and not just AFC North, look at the wider AFC, there's lots of good use of tight ends. I thought Trey White had it. I know Gilmore was. I thought Trey White had signed a deal. So if he's still available, that could be really interesting. But he's had a lot of injuries. Like he's barely played the last few years. I genuinely thought he'd signed a deal. That's interesting if he's still available. I'm going to pull that up. Free agents on Spot Rack because even though I love Over the Cap, it crushes a live stream. Let's go positions. Let's go cornerback. I'm going to switch, actually. I'm going to switch that one out. I will stop showing the depth chart and I will bring up. So let's have a look at Spot Rack. Let's have a look at some free agents. Everyone's talking about the draft. We're going to talk about free agents. We're going to do something different. So we'll make this bigger because it's pretty small for you guys watching, unless you're watching on your TV. I was surprised to learn, actually, when I was going through our listener stats the other day, that there's a lot of our listeners, almost 1/5 of our listeners watch on TV, which is kind of cool. I've been watching a lot of YouTube on my TV as well. But if we look at free agent cornerbacks, how big is this on your screen? Yeah, pretty decent. Available players. So Cameron Sutton, obviously, he's got some law and order issues. Xavier Howard, J.C. Jackson, Adoree Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson, Steven Nelson, Trey Herndon. There's some of the names available. Shannon Sullivan, who we had last year. Don't be shocked to see them bring him back. Yeah, so he must have signed somewhere. Trey White. Yeah. Re-signed in Buffalo on a 1-year deal. Yep. Interesting. What do you do that with the? Yeah, to the Rams. No, that's cool though. But I mean, this is the thing. Like, I would have liked to have seen him. I don't know. It's funny with Gilmore though. I think you bring up a really good point there, Jer, because like Gilmore is someone that like when he moved from on from the Colts, they talked about him and go because he played last year in Dallas. They were saying people were like, oh, he's going to be really slow. And he didn't seem to be that hampered by speed and age. So I kind of, maybe that you do look at him and you look at him in certain roles and he's just locked someone down. Like he's still going to make the offense question what they're doing. JC Jackson can't seem to stay anywhere. He might be done in the NFL. Some team will take a flyer on him, but he might realistically be done. I kind of think you try Xavier Howard, but I wonder whether Xavier Howard's holding out for like a $8 to $10 million deal. And in that case, I don't think he's worth that. So that's kind of my other issue there with him. I like the idea of bringing in Rock Ya-Sin. This is a player that I think will go straight after the draft if he doesn't sign anyone before that, or he'll sign during the draft. So he's pretty key. He's probably one of my favorite players on this. Don't bring back Steven Nelson. He's getting old, even though he's had some decent years. He didn't want the money when the Steelers offered it to him, so it is what it is. Fenton could be interesting out of Arizona, but I think I do when I look at this. Trayvon Mullen actually could be an interesting player for the Steelers. So I think Mullen, you look at Mullen, Rock Ya-Sin, Gilmore, and Xavier Howard. They're probably the 3 to 4 blokes that I think would be really, really helpful. I don't want to bring him back if he's got these off the field issues. I don't see the reason why I should get him. But let's look at outside linebacker because it is a spot that we did pull up on the roster just before. When we know linebacker is an issue as well inside linebacker, but I think we all expect the Steelers to draft someone. So Michael Walker actually interestingly signed a deal, and he was listed as outside with Washington. That's kind of funny. But Marcus Golden available 33, Bud Dupree available 31, Bowser who's played all right in Baltimore, he's 28, he's available. That's kind of the blokes, really. You could look at Anthony Barr. He's a bit more of a 4-3 linebacker, defensive end type. I think he's on the 265 pounds plus side of things. So I don't really think that he's sort of an applicable bloke. It does seem to make sense if the Steelers want to use a late draft pick or do a UDFA for those guys. So I think that's kind of the interesting situation there. I know we've just talked about that for a bit, but we'll sort of see how the Steelers treat that outside linebacker position. But again, it's like what I said with defensive tackle. You could see some players cut there with teams, guys that have big, cap hits, that then another team goes and upgrades their roster, and then suddenly they're like, well, we don't need to pay that guy anymore, so why would we do that? That's kind of a thing that you might see as well. We did talk about corner. I want to look at defensive tackle as well. Because I know we talked about the Steelers potentially drafting someone there, but if they didn't draft someone, let's say their top prospects didn't fall to them, and there's prospects throughout the draft, like Gabe Hall out of Baylor, rounds 4 to 6, he could be an option. Fletcher Cox retired, so he's gone. Lawrence Guy, I think, is retiring as well. So is Al Woods. Linwood Joseph, 35. There's Marlon Davidson there. Then Marky D could get an M. Davison, but it's not Davidson, it's Davidson, and that's not the right name. But Marky D, you could still get it. You could just cross out the D. Ross Blacklock's there. He's a player that really struggled to end up working out well in the NFL. Then there's a guy that we had on the roster last year in Renell Wren. But there's not a lot of help there either, which is why it's probably you will see someone drafted. So kind of interesting. I did also want to look at the tight end market quickly because I know it's not defense, but when we think about Mecole Pruitt going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was kind of like, well, who else is actually available? Because I don't think they've got the Mecole Pruitt. Yeah, they don't. Spot Rack haven't updated the Mecole Pruitt deal yet. But there's not a lot of other guys that were really out there. CJ Uzama's out there, but he's had a few injuries at times. Robert Tonyan, I thought he would be someone the Steelers could possibly look at. But anyway, they brought in Mecole Pruitt. That's who they're going with, familiar with the Arthur Smith offense. So I'll bring back the depth chart so we can get back to having a look at that. I think it's loading up now. Here we go. We're back in there. And so I think, and load up some Q&A, guys, because we'll close out the show with some Q&A. But I did just want to look at the defensive end spot, separating that for defensive tackle, because right now, I feel like they're forced to play Benton inside. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have that. Benton would be there as one of the defensive ends, and then you rotate Hayward and Ogunjobi, or in it with the two sets. When you want three of them on the field, you put those three out there. Other sets, you have Hayward and Benton and Ogunjobi's the backup there. I do like Lowry at defensive end, but I do think defensive tackle needs to be a priority in this draft because I think they need to be able to find a way to let Benton play and out, be able to play slightly outside the interior, like, on the outer side of the interior, not just play the A gap all the time or the B gap, be able to use B and C gaps. So, yeah, and Leif Lear does suck. I'm going to agree with him. I think he does. I think he needs to drop 20, 30 pounds, and I think he's a 4-3 defensive end. I don't think I think the Steelers thought he could be a super athletic player and versatile player in a 3-4, and I don't think it's worked out. It's also the year he was drafted. Marky D and I talked about it as well on our shows, that I felt the Steelers were starting to head toward wanting to play more 4-3, not change from being a 3-4 team, but play more 4-3 sets. And I don't think that's ever eventuated. Yeah, I feel like Loudermilk. That's a really good question. So I feel like Loudermilk will. I'm going to take this one off, but I think Loudermilk will fade off the board. I think Liao will fade faster, but I think Loudermilk, I struggle to see him being brought back after his rookie contract. And Marky D is back to close out the show.
I'm back. Put me in, coach. What's going on? What I miss?
Take the ball. It's 3rd and 4. Get the first down.
Oh, no, I can hear you here too. Hang on, you're a celebrity. Sorry about that. That's just power outages, mate. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
What? Seriously, what are you up to now? The linebackers?
Oh, mate, we're through all that. We've looked at all the positions. We're up to the Q&A. So I'm going to hit you with the first one. Do you think we trade up or back in the first? You can't say stay where we are. You got to pick. Are we up or are we back?
Up. If you did it last year, you do it again. You go and get those blokes you talked about, those big dudes, the Fuagas and those kind of dudes. You go and do it again.
I mean, I want to. I think they should consider trading back, but I think
another guy on the other side. You've got the line looks awesome then, besides center, but I guess you can figure that out as well.
I mean, if Roma Dunze is there at 7 or 8, it would be very, very tempting to trade up. Because if they take four quarterbacks.
Is he the receiver? Wait. What's going on? First show ever.
I have that bloody back button on my mouse.
So yours is going out. Mine's. Oh my goodness.
I hit the back button. I need to disable the back when doing a stream.
Quality. This is like a 6-hour stream.
Yeah, this is it, man. That's coming back.
Oh boy.
I like your image actually, Gavin. But yeah, I think with Roma Dunze, if he's there, if let's say 4 quarterbacks go, I'm trading up to get Roma Dunze. I think he's as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Roma Dunze is a gun, man.
Right, and he'll be number 2, right? I guess.
Yeah, well, Pickens will have a fight on his hand because I think Dunze can be a number 1. But I also like Leggett in round 2.
He's the big bloke. He's 6'4", dude. I think I saw him.
213 pounds. Yeah. But my favorite wide receiver in the draft, apart from Dunze, my favorite realistic wide receiver is Malachi Corley. I love Malachi Corley. I think he is an absolute.
I like his name, Malachi Corley.
Yeah, huge production. He's like Debo the second.
But yeah, if they do it again, like they got Jones, I think he's going to turn out to be a pretty good player. Like he's getting better and stronger every season, right? If they do it again, I think Steelers Nation will be pretty happy from where the O-line used to be. And now with our running backs, Warren's a guy too. Najee's, I think he's a dude. So it's going to be a pretty strong offense from that standpoint. Rather than the last 3 years was kind of like, oh, what do we do with Trey Turner? What do we do with, Green? And they got rid of Dotson for sure, but they had to make that move at the time.
Well, can I ask you this then? Can I ask you this? Have you heard about Have you heard about Graham Barton?
No, someone told me about Russell Barton the other day, and then I had to go back to it was some bloke's name, Russell Barton, in the comments. It was putting them both together, that Russell Wilson and Graham Barton, and I was like, I was so confused. So, but no, I haven't heard of him.
So Graham Barton,
center, right?
Well, so he's played tackle. He's played tackle and center and a little bit of guard in college, but mostly tackle. he was projected to go become a guard once he gets drafted to the NFL. And now he's been doing a lot of testing in pro day as a center. And he technically tested at the combine as a center. And he was the number 1 center. He's played half the center snaps that Jackson Powers Johnson has played. And he's got better stats than Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm kind of thinking, as I said it just soon after you cut out. And I did a video on this the other day on the channel as well. I kind of feel that he, besides Fuaga, could be the best overall O-line prospect. And he literally can play all 5 positions. Like, why not get that guy?
Do you reckon this draft has got a lot of good O-line blokes in it, like a lot of good dudes?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say JJ52, yeah, his RAS scores off the thing. Oh, this O-line, I was reading an article yesterday that they reckon, so usually most drafts, and it's funny because at the start of the college year, this draft was going to be considered one of the worst first rounds we've ever had. And then people just exploded in talent and started performing. And also people declared that they didn't think would declare. You've also got the end of the COVID era where you've got a lot of players that have 5 or 6 years actual playing experience. Yep. So that's going to change it. That's why the next few drafts could be weaker at a number of positions. But usually in a draft, they reckon there's anywhere between 2 and 4 ready to go first round top graded tackles. But in this draft, there's like 7 or 8, and possibly if the late first round guys or the early second round guys in, Jordan Morgan and Patrick Paul out of Houston, if they turn out to, and Tyler Guyton, if they turn out to be something, there could be 10 technically first round tackles available in this draft, and they're very hard to get. So it's crazy.
So it's a really good position for the Steelers then, because I feel like we just a few pieces away from our O-line, and all the other positions seem like they're going to get the best player. Do you know what I mean? It does feel like a pretty good,
pretty much. But that's why I like because I'm leaning in on Mims, Fuaga, even a Fatanu, or Barton in the first round, and then Cedric Van Pran. Because when I looked at the stats for Cedric Van Pran, they weren't that far away from Frazier and JPJ. And in fact, some of them were a bit better. So, like, I think you get Graham Barton, and then you can play him at wherever you want, and he could be a very athletic right tackle. And then you go get Cedric Van Pran in the third, or you get yourself your DT or your wide receiver, or you trade up to get a corner if DeJean falls to early the second. Like, you've got options then. That's why I kind of like Barton at 20. If the Steelers don't trade up, if they stay at 20, get Graham Barton. He can fill it. You can play him wherever you want on the O-line, and you can figure out the rest later. And then you've got options. Like, so if you stay at 20 and Fuaga doesn't, and Fuaga's not making it to 20. Like, Fuaga's not falling to 20. That's not
who would be an
unless
overall,
there has a Laramie Tunsil incident. He's not falling to 20.
Who would be an overall risk, you think, or like an reach if the Steelers went and got this player at 20? You went, oh, no way, they should never get him.
Tyler Guyton. At tackle?
Tackle.
Yeah.
So if he's the guy that comes up, you're like, oh, why do we get him there?
I also think Cooper DeJean is 20 is a little bit early for Cooper.
Could we get other cornerbacks later?
Yeah. Or you go get a top one earlier.
I still go with the point where you said last year about the offensive tackle where you get the 5th-year option for Jones. Wouldn't you want to do the same thing for another offensive tackle again? Then you got 2 blokes there for together, at least like 4 years together kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, that's not bad to build around that.
Yep.
And then you just go and, well, you've already signed Ciamalo, and then you go and maybe.
Because I think James Daniels on his last year of his contract. So you could get Connor Barton now, let him play center, or move James Daniels in there and let Graham Barton play right guard. And then you go, like, because I really like Christian Jones.
Daniels played center? He played center too, didn't he?
He's played center too, right?
When and where did he play center?
He played center in college.
Oh, he never played in professional level.
No, I can pull up his stats. Hang on. I'll pull up his stats for you. Do you want to answer Gavin's question? I'll pull up those stats and then I
Gavin says, do you think we can solve the needs at receiver, center, and tackle? Or will we only be able to solve only 2? That's a great question. It depends how high the needs are. I think what they will do is they will that's a good question. I think they'll go, actually, I keep leaning towards they're going to go tackle first. Right tackle first, and then get a center later, like you and Shannon have discussed with the Zach Fraser kind of dudes, and then receiver. They always seem to find some kind of receiver talent, and at the same time too, they've got a lot of receivers on the roster right now, like a lot of guys who are not maybe a receiver number 2, but maybe a 3. So maybe they go and find a receiver in the 3rd round, 4th round. I don't know.
Well, there was a question only about Roman. People saying Roman Wilson's overrated. So James Daniels played 1,481 of his 1,742 snaps at center in college.
Okay, so he can play that, but it depends.
Well, he played majority of his college career at center. Yeah.
Right. He's
and
a pretty
then
big.
In the NFL, I'll just see what NFL he's played. He played 508 snaps in 2019 at center. So he played half the season at center in 2019 for Chicago.
Maybe someone went down.
Yeah.
So 2019, I don't know who was a quarterback would have been. Wait a minute. Did he play with Fields? No. No, he was 2020, right?
Actually, no, he did 2021 because wasn't Fields drafted in 2021? I think he was.
So he played with Fields on the offense. I didn't. Yeah, he did. He must have been.
Yeah, they had a year together. They had a year together. That's an interesting take, though, Marky. They definitely had a year together. Maybe there's some chemistry there.
So 2021, he played. That was his first season, 2-8, or the starts, and then he played right guard. Interesting. Yeah. I might have to go watch some 2021 games.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play crazy good, but I mean, that O-line was terrible. And if the center's playing a terrible O-line, like they end up, their pressure on them is diabolical. I haven't heard the clarification on the medicals with Powers Johnson, but he was also not the cleanest snapper or balling out a bunch of penalties. I just don't think he and Frazier are crazy different. I think a lot of people are hyped on Jackson Powers Johnson because of the potential. But like I did the show I did during the week. Yeah.
It's the same JBJ as last year because everyone's really hyped about JBJ being the first round pick last year. And then we got him in the second. You know what I'm saying? Good. 46, he can. He can play middle linebacker too. If he can snap there, he can snap anywhere.
But I can show you the center. I can show you I had the center one up. I can pull that one up for us because I did the center.
Who's our center right now? Nobody. No one in our team.
Herbig. They keep saying Herbig.
Herbig. Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
would it be cool if he just came out and was a really good center? Just saying. You never know.
Well, I mean, I think we're overpaying him, so I would like to find some value for him.
Oh, he's getting like $4 million a year or something, isn't he?
Yeah, ridiculous.
So they put in Herbig has played center as well.
Yeah, so that's why they don't. So if you look at this right now, Barton has. So if you look at this right now in terms of the snaps, obviously we know Barton played most of his his college career at left tackle, but of all the other guys, Jackson Powers Johnson has only played 1,355 snaps in total in college, and he only played 893 at center. That is less than Matt Lee in the 5th round out of Miami, who the Steelers have had twice round visits. That is much less than Cedric Van Pran, much less than Zach Frazier, and it's barely double what Barton's played.
Yeah, right.
So, when it comes to
I'm just keen. I still think I'm just keen to see what happens in the first round pick if they trade up or back or whatever to get some more O-line help. I think that's the key. It's O-line help first. And then, because we know that Ciamalo and those dudes are playing pretty well, and you get another big dude in there that can play football like these guys can, then it should be pretty exciting, I think. Just for the run game factor, just to run the game, I
want to go back to Gavin's question up here. Do you think?
It's a tough one. Tough one.
Well, I think we can solve them, but they're not all going to be solved in the first 2 to 3 rounds. They're going to have to pick one of those other positions late. I think.
Is it
unless we use a 2025 pick to trade back in, which I would do because this is going to be a better draft than next year's draft. So I'd consider doing that.
If we don't solve all 3 out of 3, is that a problem?
No, from what I was saying when you were off, where I think there's other teams will draft players and then make some cuts. So as long as we're ready to pick up people as they're cut or become available or make a trade after the draft, then I'm not great. Like, it's not a good position to be in, but it's not doomsday scenario.
What about your bloke last year, the Spencer Anderson? What's his role going forward this year? You think in
This is the thing. I mean, I think he is a right guard. That's my favorite spot for him as a right guard. I think he can also. I thought he would play center. I thought they'd train him to be a center, and maybe they are, and they just don't want to put that pressure right now. So they're just saying Herbig, and maybe because right now, if everyone thinks the Steelers is drafting a center, right? Put it this way, right? If you want to tackle and you're drafting anywhere between 14 and 21, and the Steelers say don't, and the Steelers have this hole at center. And the Steelers come to you offer to trade up like they did last year at 14 for Broderick, right? They come to you and they say, hey, we want to draft up. Then you might be like, the Steelers are picking a center because they're going to play Herbig. Well, no, if the Steelers like Spencer Anderson and Herbig as their center and can bring back Mason Cole on the cheap, if that's what they choose to do, I don't think that's a smart option, right? Then the Steelers can literally go do that trade and then pick the tackle that the other team wanted anyway, right? Like the Steelers sell themselves short by saying that they've figured center out. By being ambiguous, they make it better for their trade value as well.
I think maybe a lot of hype might be around the JPJ character at center, and then we might go and get the right tackle.
I actually don't think he's worthy of being the first center. I think Zach Frazier or Graham Barton is the best center in the
but he's
Zach Frazier's not worth it. Zach Frazier's not worth a first round pick or top 28 pick.
I'll put it this way: he's the bloke I know most about. Therefore, he's the most overhyped because I don't know anything about that draft. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Like I've been hearing his name 1,000%. Every article, every NFL draft is like JPJ is going to the Steelers center, and I'm like, yeah, he is. So that's what I see.
Bawaga, Leggett, I would love that, man. But I do like Malachi Corley even better than Leggett. I think Malachi Corley fits in the Arthur Smith offense better, but they're so close. It's so close. It's not funny. Gavin says, and I know Shannon Wyatt's really keen on Coleman. Shannon says, we're not going to solve one of them. I'd prefer it to be tackle, which is ironic since if we're going to address it, we'll probably do it. That's kind of an interesting point too of like, but I will say this, that Patrick Paul out of Houston in the second, or if he slipped to the third, I don't think he will. And Christian Jones, I'm very, very high on Christian Jones out of Texas. He is going to be a much better pro than a lot of people give him credit for. And if you actually go through the stats, not just PFF grades, but the stats on like blocking and penalties and sacks allowed, Christian Jones is a top 10 tackle in this draft. And he's a good right tackle. Well, I think the Steelers should go get that Longhorn in the third round or the fourth round.
I believe you. Don't know who that guy is.
A big monster man. He shows up on tape. He's just always around the plays. That's the thing. It's like Zach Zinter out of Michigan. There's players that just always seem to be around the big plays. And that tells you something. You know, like you want to be in and around the big plays. It means you're contributing. So
here's a question. Do you think they'll draft to suit Russell Wilson's needs or something like that? You know, to suit him? Or they're drafting for the team?
I think they're drafting for the team, and I think they might more draft for Justin Fields' needs. Controversial.
Yeah, true.
Controversial.
What's the contract? He's on 1 year contract for Wilson, and Fields is what, a 2 year contract or something?
Well, no, it's technically 1 year, but they'll have to decide on the 5th year option.
Right. Okay. I'm sure they got a plan. I'm sure they have. You wouldn't bring him in otherwise, would you? You know?
No.
That's something going on.
I don't know. I did the move in Madden the other day, and I downloaded the updated roster, and I just signed Justin Fields to a 4-year, $95 million deal, 55 guaranteed.
So who do you play at quarterback? Do you play Fields?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm in season 2025 now, so.
Yeah, right. I'd drop Bears for real.
Not in Australia.
Yeah, maybe somewhere else.
Maybe.
Isn't it amazing that came from an advertisement? It goes all the way over there. Isn't that great? Drop Bears.
I can't believe caramello koalas are real.
No, they're not. They're chocolate. I know my koalas, mate.
Man, we're entering pizza podcast territory. This is like the encore. This is like the TDU encore. What's fine?
I had pizza in that break. I had some leftover pizza, but it was
I
cold.
love cold pizza, man.
I hate cold pizza, but I had to have it because it's like I got to eat something before I go to pickleball. I'm not having any lunch today. I'm doing a pickleball event. See, got my thing on. Pickle.
Nice.
Ready to go.
What am I gonna have? I don't know. After the podcast, I'm pretty hungry. I haven't eaten anything today, so I better eat something.
Quackers are top blokes. No one's ever said that in their life. That's great. If they were, if Quackers could be human, they would be a top bloke. They're so chill.
Would. Do you know what? Maybe that's what we should nickname. Did you watch Deshaun Elliott's press conference?
Is it the one where he turns around and goes, "We got 6 of them" or something like that? That's for the Steelers. I love the Steelers.
Yeah. At the end of it, they said to him, they started asking him difficult questions about the scheme, and he goes, "Bro, I'm just happy to be here, man. I just love to be here." Like it was me happy to be here. But he goes, just the way he said it, he kind of sounded a bit like Juju when Juju was happy. He's just like, "Bro, I'm just happy to be here. I just want to play football." Like, and I thought to myself, he's just this shining little. I don't know. He's not a little bloke, but like he just had this spirit about him. So maybe we could call him. Maybe his nickname could be
Quacker.
Yeah,
but nobody would get it. I don't understand.
No one would get it. So,
no, I think you're right. Like everyone, people give Mike Tomlin a lot of slack, but like players want to come to the Steelers because he's there, and other players are there too.
Well, do you know what Deshaun Elliott said? He's like, I know this because I played at the Ravens. He's like, AFC North football and particularly Steelers football is real football, not like some of the other teams that play like kind of flag football. This is real football.
They've beat them seven times in 8 years. Like we cannot. I love that stat now. It's one of the best ones. Even Trubisky stuffed it up. But 7 times in not 8 years, in 4 years. 7 times in 4 years. That's pretty good. The stupid Ravens. So and I think their team is a bit like. Nah, never had that. So the reason they call it pickleball is like it's from someone's dog or for boat or something like that. Just a weird name. But
hey, Bruno's.
Yeah, man. I think we have a chance for the AFC North if we can play some good football. Like the other teams, I don't think it's not as the Ravens aren't as scary to us anymore, and the Bengals they're also going through a funny time too.
They're making some odd, yeah. I'll tell you what, that's what I want though. I would love the Steelers. I would love to. We talked about tag and trade with Snead. Do a freaking tag and trade for Higgins, man. Get freaking T. Higgins. I'm such a T. Higgins fan.
Oh, did he want out
as well?
Did he want out of Cincinnati, or was that the other guy, Tyler Boyd?
Well, Boyd's out.
Everybody wants to leave.
Higgins is out, but Higgins wants out because they're not going to offer him a long-term deal.
So at one stage they had 3 big receivers. Now they're going to have 1.
Pretty much.
That's crazy. No safeties now. I think Joe Burrow is.
So I heard a theory in the draft that they should draft Brock Bowers, the tight end.
Oh right, he's the high tight end, right? He's he's going to go like 15 or something like that.
Yeah, top 15.
You watch. What's
the bold prediction? Oh, sorry, go. No, go.
The Ravens will probably pick Bowers up. They love those tight ends
with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Jeez.
Oh, they'll do it. They always like
Gavin says bold take. If we win the division, I really wouldn't be. I'm not surprised if we win the division. I
reckon it's this year. I think it's 12 wins. I don't think it's 15 or 14 like has been recently. The Ravens going on a run. I think it'd be 12 wins. I think it'd be lower. That's just my theory. I just think the Ravens aren't as good anymore, and we can beat them. And if we can hang around, we can get it.
I had a pickleberry shot when I was in Texas. It was like pickle juice in the shot. It wasn't very nice.
Oh.
I didn't like that.
Doesn't sound very nice.
But I don't like pickles. Like I take them off the burgers.
I just have them.
Do you eat your pickle on your Macca's burger?
Yeah, just have it. It's just I'm not a huge fan of them, to be honest.
What about jalapenos? Do you like jalapenos?
Yeah, but not a lot of them. I can have like one, like
I don't like them. I don't eat them.
They're a different taste though. I used to have them on pizza. The jalapenos on pizza. You ever had those jalapeno poppers though, man? They're hot. Those things will kill you.
I don't like it. I think it's like beetroot. I don't like beetroot either. It ruins stuff.
You don't even have it on a burger?
No.
Like I don't like it by itself in a salad, but like I'll have it on a burger with a bit, with the Aussie burger. No. Okay. What do you like?
Well, because I don't like mayonnaise either.
What do you like then?
I don't like the Ravens. I don't like the Bengals.
Dude.
I don't like Lamar Jackson.
Man, Maybe we should do a show into the AFC North and look at the AFC North. Because
That's
I wouldn't mind looking at them because I feel like the Steelers have it. We are getting, I think, better.
You know what we should do? You know what we could do? Remember when we did our AFC North, like the AFC North All-Star team?
Oh, yeah, we chose them all.
Yeah,
we could do that. Actually, this would be really different because we talked about Nick Chubb being injured. He'd come back from an injury, so he wouldn't be the best running back, I don't think.
Correct. I'll just quickly share what we picked last year. We'll do this on a different show, but I'm just AFC North.
And my power won't cut out. Yeah.
Right.
And even Joe Burrow. Oh, this would.
But I'm wondering whether Queen was in there, man. Queen and Holcomb. So now we've got two of the linebackers that we picked last year when we did last year's AFC North.
But I'd probably Holcomb's injured, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. TJ, we put Peterson in there. Wow,
in the slot we did.
We were pretty high on him, weren't we?
We were. But JPJ, you'd probably swap, right? And Jackson Hill would be the slot.
Oh, JPJ's up there for sure.
Yeah, but we didn't put him in there yet. Last year we wanted to, but we couldn't because he hadn't played anything in the NFL when we did it.
JJ52, yes, we do have Ranch. Ranch is pretty good. And he says, do a stream with Arsenal DB and Shannon. That'd be a good idea too. We could do four of us.
We could do that. We could do a cross stream.
Yeah.
I am trying to get Big G on the show from Pump Your Brakes. I'm just trying to find a time that I can do it with Big G.
Put these cards up. I like his cards.
Facts.
Yeah, facts.
Muchos chachos. What's that one? Finds everyone. That's the only one. You can't find me on my own channel. Can't find me on my own channel. And that's facts.
Matty, I do have to leave again though, because this time
you got pickleball. I had to jump and get some breakfast. But
we're doing like stuff we should be doing outside the camera. You know, we're giving too much away.
That's right. Tear down the fourth wall, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
we do 6-hour streams. There is no wall. So
it's coming back, man. We're 3 weeks away. We're 3 weeks away from the 6-hour stream, man.
I'm nervous.
It's wild.
I'm freaking nervous.
I'm worried because unless Storm Duck gets picked, there's not a lot of fun names in the draft. There's no.
Are we gonna wake up again
this draft
and do a 3 a.m. stream?
Pardon?
Are we waking up at 3 a.m.?
I'm doing it, man. I'm here. You can join me.
Oh boy,
we're gonna bring the wheel back as well.
Your first thing was, I'm so excited. I'm just like, how? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm so keen for today. Yeah, we hang on for like 2.5 hours trying to talk football.
100. It was 110 or 114 picks or something where there was no pick. There's a player JJ52 in the draft called Storm Duck. He's a cornerback out of not Louisville, one of those ones. Yeah, Storm Duck. We got similar stuff to Kool-Aid. But yeah, imagine the Steelers could get Kool-Aid McKinstry and Storm Duck. Two of the best names in this draft.
There are probably some names you want to get. Well, people wanted Duck jerseys. So already. I don't know.
Well, the problem is that Duck wore 6, so that's already going to be Queen's number.
Queen. I hope Queen does well. I wouldn't mind getting that jersey.
I love 6. 6 was a jersey number I had for most of the time I play rugby, so I would love to get a Queen.
He'll go from being a Raven to a Steeler real fast.
I think he's just a Farrier type pickup.
Let's hope so. Let's hope he plays for the next 10 years.
He does sound like a Pokemon, like Psyduck. You know Psyduck, the little psychic duck.
Psyduck.
Psyduck, yeah.
I think that's good, man.
That's a good show. That's a good way to end it on Pokemon. That is a good way to end it for two 90s kids. You know, like the Mr. Mime? You remember that guy?
That was the weirdest one, dude.
Guys, on the draft stream, that's got to be the thing. Is like rating someone's Pokemon name. That's what's going to be in our draft stream.
Latu sounds like a Pokemon.
Latu, yeah. Latu. And Brock Brow. To be fair, Brock Brower sounds like the gym leader Brock from
what's his name? Brock. Is his name
Bowers? Brock Bowers. Yeah, but there's Brock the first. He's at the first Pokemon gym. He's the The Rock one.
You know, it's funny when he just hits on every nurse he goes to. Brock taught me a lot. If you go to a hospital, try and find the hot nurses. That's what he taught me. Alrighty, end the show.
All right, with that, we're gonna be out of here. I'm Matty P with Marky D. As always.
Go Steelers. Here we go. Go Steelers. Oh boy.